Welcome back, you guys. Today we're going to be working on a Glock 21. This happens to be a fix-it build. I want to go briefly into the work that's been performed. I want to talk about a couple of things that are on my mind as far as some issues we may run into. Then I want to talk about the work that we're going to be doing. And then, of course, at the end, we're going to discuss. So first and foremost, customer reached out to me. They had some work processed through another vendor. And honestly, they just weren't happy with it. Okay? So sometimes when work is done, it's not necessarily done bad. It's more so done in not the correct fashion of the eyes of the customer. In other words, the customer had a vision. They really didn't quite execute it like they were looking for, and now they're actually just trying to do a repair to get back to that overall goal. So one of the issues that the customer has with this is the side windows. They just happen to not be as large as what they were hoping for. And guys, you've heard me say it once, I'll say it again, and that's just because somebody says they can do it or they have done it before doesn't necessarily mean they're qualified to do it or they're going to do it to your liking. So be very careful on who you have do your work, whether that's a gun shop and they source it out, whether that's a gun shop they do it themselves, or whether that's just a friend who has a machine or works at a machine shop. Be careful on who processes your work, because in the end, it may be done twice and it may cost you twice as much. With that being said, guys, I do want to talk about a couple of concerns that I have. One of the concerns that I have going into this project is not the side windows, okay? I don't see that being an issue. We should be able to cut a bigger window. We should be able to open this up, widen it out, make it look correct like it's supposed to. Of course, we got some additional work as well. One of the issues that I have with this slide is this top window, okay? Very large top window. I know that there are some people out there that are all about, give me a big window, I want to be able to see the barrel, I want to have barrel exposure, I want to get that weight reduction. There's so many reasons why people want to have a large window, and on some guns from Glock, they come with a large window, like the G34. There's a great example. Some of the other models, I know there's some older generations of the 41 and the 40, had some windows on some of them too. So the idea here is it's not uncommon to see something that you like and then ultimately want to build something around that style. One of the issues that I have with this top window is if you cut the window too large, you may run into functionality problems. I want to talk about that a little bit for those of you that do offer work, or those of you that are wanting to have work done and you're not 100% sure who's going to be doing your work, something to look out for. So with that being said, I did take some pictures. It's going to be a little bit easier to see in the pictures or in the other video that I'm going to include versus this one, because this is more of a general video. One of the issues that we're going to see here is that with the window being so large, and you can kind of see it right in here, there's a wear line right here. You can kind of see the silver. You guys will be able to see it on this side as well. The idea there is that when you take a barrel, and this, just for the sake of the video, this barrel is not this customer's, okay? This is a 20, this is a 21. The barrels are very similar, but they're not the same. I don't have a 21 barrel here, so we're gonna do our best. When you take a factory barrel like this and you drop it into the slide, it looks something like this. What ends up happening is whenever this drops down during the cycling process, it goes up, and then what can happen is it goes up far enough to where these tips or the front corners are pushing on the underside of the slide, and they're gouging into the slide, okay? So at first, we may not see any kind of problems. This may be no functionality issues whatsoever, but over time, there is a possibility that if you look carefully here, that you will notice that we are actually creating a wedge in the underside. So what that means is in here, the barrel itself is cutting a slight V-style shape right into the slide itself, because they both are hardened steel. Sometimes if you're using aftermarket barrels, we see this in a worst case scenario where it just doesn't work, or we see this in a best case scenario where, because the barrel has a really wide chamfer on the edge, that the edges actually never really touch the slide. So it can kind of go either or. We usually don't see a lot of issues with factory barrels. I don't believe that that is the case in this project. I believe that the factory barrel is eating into the slide just based off looking at it. I don't know how many rounds have been down range with this slide, or how long this has been done. I mean, obviously we're seeing some wear here. This is not uncommon, but we are also seeing wear here, which we do see, but then you can kind of see these two hit marks right here. we're in the lockup zone. So obviously this is, you know, something's going on here overall. As far as what is happening, there's some drag going on between the barrel. There's some drag going on between the takedown lever that's touching up on the inside of here. And then we're also seeing a lot of kind of just trash up into where the coating is in here. I'm not sure we'll get any on the glove, but there's a bunch of trash up in this zone here where it's actually almost peeling the coating back. It's got a little orange peel to it. So with that being said, we're going to be doing a new coating anyhow. Not a big deal. Guys, those are my concerns, is that over time, you may end up running into my gun sticks, it doesn't function, it doesn't eject right, it doesn't cycle right. And that's because as this barrel is going up into here, it's essentially pinching right up here on these 2 points and then finally releasing back. And each and every one of those motions is just a resistance in cycling, right? So it goes forward, it just barely pinches, and then it finally comes back, and then it pinches a little more, and before you know it, you've put 1,000 rounds down range, and your barrel actually just gets stuck up here, right? Or the dwell time's too long, and it starts to make its way back, it picks up another round, and before you know it, it doesn't have any force left over to, you know, take a round off of the mag and into the chamber. So you don't know why you're having a problem. It feels like it's a mag problem, but really it's not. It's a slide problem. So one of those things to take a look at. All right, guys, so let's jump into the work now that we've kind of gone through that. We want to do a side shave. We're going to be shaving the sides from the rear striations all the way forward. I do want to have the weight reduction. I do want to remove the entire text and not just a portion of the text. I just don't like that style. We're going to be doing another shave, which is going to be towards the front. So we're going to come down at an angle and off the front. That's going to give us a little bit more weight reduction. It's also going to give us just a little bit more of a character design to the slide. We're going to be doing a bigger window here. There's going to be a step down over here. So it kind of just breaks up this big flat zone, especially if we're not doing an engraving or not doing a logo or text. This kind of angle here, front shave, pocket here, just kind of breaks it up a little bit better. Of course, this will be the same thing. We're going to do a side shave here. We'll come down this way. We'll come over. We'll do a window. On the top, there's absolutely nothing I can do with that top window. It is pretty much a done deal where it is. I will take a look and clean it up and see if there's anything that I can do to prevent that pinching from happening. We will be doing an optic cut on this. These iron sights will not work. As you guys know, whenever you do an optic cut, that's going to get placed in front of the rear iron sight. The rear iron sight really can't come forward from the dovetail, or not that much forward from the dovetail, as it would be hanging over the socket hole. So these are going to come off. We do have a replacement set of sights that have been provided. They're not suppressor sights, so I don't know what we're going to run into. And I say that because we are doing the 507C. So this is not a micro dot. This is a regular, RMR sized optic. So we're going to see if, we can get it low enough to get these guys to work with this optic cut. The G20 and 21 model slides are a little bit thicker. There may be a little bit more opportunity to sink it a little bit lower. I don't know what we run into. I do recommend going with suppressor sights. Ameriglow, GL329, GL429. You can always use something like just the Trojicon suppressor sights. So you've got a lot of options that are there. So we're also going to be doing top knurling on the slide, so that's going to be our diamond pattern all the way from the front all the way to the rear, so that's going to be a great opportunity for the glare reduction when shooting outside. Of course, it breaks up the color just a little bit better, and we're going to be doing black coloring. So we're going to get rid of this atrocious green. I like the green. I don't like the way it's been applied, but I like the color itself. With that being said, it is one of my top, I'd say 4 or 5 colors that I do like to see on weapons. It just needs to be applied correctly in order to really stand out. Guys, with that being said, let's jump over to the CNC. Let's jump into this work. Let's try to do a cleanup. You guys can take a look at that just a little bit closer, where that window is and how it lays, because it's going to be gone when we come back. Let's see what we come up with. right, guys, let's take a look and see exactly how this came out now that we are back together. We've added some coloring to the slide. Let's just briefly go over the work at hand here, and then there's a couple of things I want to talk about. Optic cut, we kept the iron sight to the rear of the slide. I still recommend going with a actual set of suppressor sights, something like an Ameriglow GL329, GL429, Trijicon suppressor sights. These are slightly too short. Now, not to say that they can't work or wouldn't or couldn't be used in an emergency case type of scenario. However, if you are looking for a lower third co-witness, you do need to go with something a little bit taller. Top window is already there. Of course, you guys know that. We went ahead and added the knurling pattern on the top for an anti-glare reflective type of texture. Really, really nice. I love the way that comes out. It gives you a little bit of grip, and of course, it knocks down all of that glare if you're outside shooting or even if you're inside and the lights are really, really bright. On the side, we ended up doing a side shave. We ended up doing a larger window to kind of overcome the issue with the front one. We removed the factory text off the slide. I like how we did a shave, then we did another step down for better weight reduction. Of course, we got a step down here in the front and then the window. It kind of breaks up the side a little bit, so it's not such a just a shave with a window. It gives it a little bit of style. Of course, this also gives you the opportunity of adding text or other things in this zone. So in the future, if somebody was wanting to have something done, they could change or alter this ever so slightly and kind of break up the flat zone versus the window zone and add something there. On the right-hand side, same thing. Side shave, went ahead and did another step down here and then the window. Really like the way that came out. This happens to be our black coating. This is not Cerakote. We end up using our own product. It is a totally different product altogether, and it holds up better than Cerakote when you're going with black. So that is something that we do. So guys, 507C, really nice setup here. One of the things I want to talk about here just briefly is if you haven't been following us on Instagram, I would recommend you do so. You probably know that we actually have an optic cut service sale going on right now. So our typical service charge for the majority of what is offered is $100 for an optic cut, and then we charge $50 to recoat the slide. So it's about $150 out the door. Now, once again, this is for the standard services. There are a handful of them that fit outside of that window, like the MOS plate system cut. We charge a little bit more on the VP9s of H&K because there's a little bit more work. But most of what's offered falls into that $100 to $150 range. But right now, it's $20 off the optic cut service. So it puts you at about $130 out the door, 2 to 3 business day turnaround time. Guys, that's gonna end at the end of this month. So when that rolls over into November 1, we are done. So make sure you get your orders in time for that. Of course, you can send them in at any time, but make sure that order is placed. One of the other things I want to touch base on here just briefly is the work, okay? One of the things, and the best way I can say this is pay attention to the company that you're sending your stuff out to. Now, once again, not just speaking for ourselves, there are a lot of really nice companies out there. They do, the communication's great, the service work is good, they may even be local to you. There are a lot of different companies that qualify to do your work. However, there is a difference between cutting a side window and shaving the sides, creating a step down, creating another step down, doing a window. One's a little bit more of a complete pattern, right? And I don't know what was, what the conversation took place between the owner and the other person that did the work, whether it was, hey man, just cut me a window, I'm good with that. Or whether it was, I want some sort of whole-blown design done, right? So, but point being made here is, you really need to pay attention to who's doing the work and how the work is going to be performed. Look at their track record, okay? If they don't have a lot of feedbacks on Google, I don't care how many you have on Facebook, I don't really care how many followers you have on Instagram, because what that tells me is that we're not really seeing a lot of people actually review your work, okay? You can buy 1,000 slides and you could do 1,000 projects, and you could post them on Instagram or post them on Facebook and tell people that you are super busy and you do a lot of amazing, amazing work. However, none of those were actually for customers, right? Not a single one of those projects were actually for a customer. So, with that being said, make sure you're getting feedback from actual customers that have used that shop for the work, okay? A lot of ways to cheat the system as far as buying, followers on Instagram, buying people on Facebook to follow you. My numbers are boosted. It looks like I have 100,000 people that follow me on YouTube. Some of these guys are out there. But really, when it comes down to it and you go to their Google, they have like 10 people that left a review. So you have 100,000 people that follow you on YouTube? You have 100,000 people that follow you on Facebook, but 8 people gave you a review? I mean, that's not even 1%, right? So point being made here, guys, pay attention to the systems that you can't cheat, and that's Google's review system. You really can't cheat the system. Not that I've ever heard of anybody doing that, but you're actually going to get real reviews. I mean, for all I know, you could probably click on the person's name and send them a message. It's their Google account. It's their Gmail account. So with that being said, I think there's a lot of opportunity there to make sure that you're following through with the right company. Once again, a lot of good companies out there, not just speaking for myself. There's some really fantastic companies out there that do some really amazing work, some stuff that we don't even do. And sometimes I'll even recommend them. If you come to us for some work, I'll even say, hey, you should go use these guys because 1, what you're asking, we don't do, and 2, what you're asking for, they do, and they're the best at it, right? So there's nothing wrong with me pointing you in the right direction for work that we just don't happen to offer. So guys, I would encourage you to follow along. If you like the video, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, leave a comment, share it, post it on Reddit. We see a lot of stuff pop up on Reddit. Reddit is like the trash can of the world of, like, if something negative is probably going to be said, that's where it's going to be said, because everyone just is a keyboard warrior and they hide behind their computer screen. So, or their phone screen. So with that being said, if you want some raw, right straight down comments, that's probably the place to go, because they're going to give them to you. So with that being said, guys, if you happen to need anything, let us know, and we'll do our best to answer any of those questions. We do have a phone number on our Google page, so you can go to Google. You can also go to the webpage. There is a phone number there. You can call us. You can actually talk to us. If you don't need to call us, please don't. And I say that just because we're so busy. A lot of times, if you're looking to process an order, call will help you through that. But if you're looking about a question about, hey, I've got a different optic cut that may not be listed, or I've got this or I've got that, send an email. We're going to want to see that optic anyhow. We're going to want to see your slide, right? If you have a question about us working on a slide that you've never seen us work on, we need to see pictures of it, right? So we can't really do that over a phone call. So we would recommend that you send us an email. We're going to ask for some pictures, send us some pictures back, and we can start getting the ball rolling on how do we get your project moving down the road, or do we not offer it, and as a last resort, does somebody else offer it that I can recommend you? So with that being said, I think there's a lot of opportunity there to kind of just sort of get your project moving in the direction that you want it to go. With that being said, guys, if you need anything, feel free to reach out. Once again, we've got some other stuff coming down on our YouTube channel, so we've got some other stuff, so you're going to want to stand by on that, and we'll see what we come up with. Have a good one.